Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, also host of RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, it is that time of the week again. It is Saturday, and that means it's thumbs ups and thumbs downs, and the world is trembling to find out, their fate. I'll go first.
Okay.
The thumbs down goes once again to the league champion of all thumbs downs, the one who's recorded more thumbs downs than any known person in history, Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell, as we know, sounded quite enthusiastic about the impeachment. He clearly allowed the New York Times to run a story indicating that he approved of the impeachment process, thought that Trump had committed impeachable offenses, and indicated that he would be voting to convict. Of course, he didn't say it on the record, but he did not deny the New York Times story. What then happened was that the House Republicans pretty much held the line. That 195 Republicans voted on the impeachment, 195 in other words voted against the impeachment, and 10 voted for the impeachment. What that meant is that essentially the Republican line held. And you have to think that McConnell was calculating that there would be major Republican defections. He didn't think that the majority of the Republicans would vote to impeach, but he may have been calculating that 40 to 50 Republicans would defect, in which case McConnell was clearly looking forward to doing his Barry Goldwater bit. If people remember, back in 1974, Barry Goldwater and some Senate Republicans, I think the Senate minority leader, went to the White House to tell President Richard Nixon that the jig is up, that if articles of impeachment are brought to the Senate and there's a trial, Nixon has no hope of prevailing. And following this meeting, the very next day, Nixon resigned. And I think McConnell was planning a similar scenario. He would do this historic walk to the White House, and Trump would then throw up his hands and say, "Oh God, I'm out of here. My career is over. I would just simply depart." It didn't happen that way. And in fact, the opposite has happened, which is that there is an absolute uproar within the Republican conference to remove Liz Cheney of the Cheney dynasty from her leadership position. And even the Republican Party within Wyoming is rebelling against Liz Cheney, and clearly she will be primaried. So Mitch McConnell's machinations have once again come to naught. Okay, Peter?
Well, I think we can stretch it out a little bit too, because after the subsequent overreaction to the events on Capitol Hill last Wednesday, we're finding out more and more, and the implausibility of insurrection and all of this other, just so overblown, over the top. And now McConnell, he's tested the waters with the caucus in the House, which would be a pretty good reflection of how Republicans feel in the Senate. And so McConnell just won't schedule it. Okay, I'm not against it, but can't fit it in. We got other things to do.
Well, it's not McConnell's decision now, but that's why he passed it over to Schumer. So it'll be Schumer's decision.
But nonetheless, what he did was run out the clock, and he was testing the waters left and right, which proves that Mitch McConnell is one of the biggest snakes in Washington, okay? Because he's got himself all covered, his donors are covered, everybody's covered except for, well, what's right, okay? So McConnell goes down in history again with infamy, and he's wrapped himself up in glory. So, Mitch, you got time on your hands now. It's your last term. Count your money, I guess. Okay, you're useless.
There's a lot of.
All right, my thumbs down. Yeah, Sandy Cortez, or as people refer to her as AOC. she was called Sandy before she went into Congress. I don't know, this whole image making thing. She is a totally irresponsible person. The way, our lives were at stake. We thought the massacre was coming. I'm using my words here, but just overhyping all of this. Okay. And adding to her overreaction, her superlatives all over the place. It shows a lack of maturity, actually, more than anything else. I mean, she's not mature enough to be that opportunistic. Okay, but she's got addicted to being in the media, and when you exaggerate and you go over the top, you're always going to make it there. This is what this. It's always a competition with the superlatives, isn't it? Okay. And it muddies the public discourse, and it just creates more and more tensions. Anyone in Congress right now should be simmering tensions instead of inflaming them. What should have happened, and this goes beyond ideology and politics, is that two prominent figures, one from the Democrats, one from the Republicans, should have come out and said, look, enough is enough. This is a democratically elected body, and we have to do the people's business here, okay? And we can put aside this for a few moments for the good of the people. But it's not happening because these are low caliber people, almost all of them to the person, okay? So she should be totally ashamed of herself for fanning the flames like this. And it's one of these amazing things, isn't it, George? And I'm going to continue with her and my other thumbs down. Is that here are these progressives. These are the progressives that are begging big tech to censor, save us, big tech, save us from these bad people. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't make it up. Yeah. Please enslave us, please, for our own protection. This is what this rhetoric is leading to. Right. And Jack Dorsey's like, well, what can I do?
And it shows again the fakery of her populist stance. I mean, can you imagine any kind of a populist, sort of a tribune of the people, who's asking for the biggest and most powerful corporations in the world to censor speech, to crack down on popular dissent, on popular opinion? I mean, that's it's obviously, you can see what an absolute fraud she is. And yes, the overheated rhetoric. I mean, there are others within Congress who are claiming that their Republican colleagues were actually colluding with the rioters and were, somehow showing them around the building and, maybe giving them instructions how to aim your gun. You have to aim it like this, and these are the offices that you have to barge into. No evidence is presented for, clearly absolutely outrageous incendiary charges.
Well, that's never stopped Swalwell before, has it? Okay. I mean, he's got so much to speak to about his behavior and his past, and he's pointing fingers at others. I mean, this guy, he should go back to his mom's basement and for good, okay? What a shameful character he is. And now he's coming out accusing people of sedition. Well, I got some questions for you, big guy. What about your behavior? I mean, being on the intelligence committee and you were sleeping literally with a Chinese spy. You got something to say to us about sedition?
And incidentally, no, that's exactly right. Incidentally, it's quite likely that he tipped her off, because remember, the FBI went to him to talk to him about her, and then magically, within a few days, she hops on a plane and flies back to China. Almost certainly because he tipped her off. So much for the person so worried about the national security of the United States.
Well, I'm only surmising right here, but I think Swalwell knows a lot about Chinese influence in Washington, and that's maybe one of the reasons why he's being given cover. He was made an impeachment manager, a guy with a huge cloud over him, and he's Nancy. You got to explain yourself, or maybe I just connected the right dot.
Right. That's a good point. So my next thumb down, it's been that kind of week, full of thumbs down, not too many thumbs up, is the re-emergence of Fiona Hill. Now, people will remember Fiona Hill from the impeachment hearings, where this person, this rather strange kind of English academic, who apparently absolutely loathed, hated, detested, despised Donald Trump, through 2015, 2016, and then mysteriously took a job in the
In the
administration.
administration.
Very, very odd. And then reemerged in the during the impeachment hearings as essentially, saying, well, Trump did these terrible things. He let down Ukraine. Suggested he worked with Putin and against Ukraine and so on. But now we're finding out from apparently we're going to get some declassified Russiagate documents. We'll see it when it happens, but that's the promise. But apparently, it confirms what we had suspected for a long time, that she was instrumental in the creation of the Steele dossier, because the Steele's primary source was this guy called Danchenko, who did some work for Brookings, and Danchenko was basically put into Steele's orbit by Fiona Hill. And Fiona Hill, moreover, lied about this during her impeachment hearings, during the deposition, because obviously some of the congressmen knew a little bit about the history, because they kept pressing her about what was your role in the Steele dossier. And she said, "Oh, I knew nothing about the Steele dossier. I just knew Christopher Steele vaguely. He was a hustler. I didn't know anything about anything." Clearly, she lied under oath. I'm not expecting any perjury charges to be brought against her, but if anyone deserves a thumbs down, it's Fiona Hill.
Well, next time we talk about this, we should bring in Roger Stone and get his opinion about speaking, lacking candor when you're under oath. Okay. Yes, that is a very good thumbs down. My thumbs down is impeachment, but in a sense where what is impeachment is allowed. First of all, it has almost nothing to do with Trump. Let's be frank about this, okay? They've already done everything they can to soil his reputation, but it's only soiled in the minds of certain people, okay? So it was a fool's errand. But this whole impeachment process with Sandy's exclamations all over the place here is this impeachment is a preamble to the info nanny state, okay? Because for the people have to be denied their speech for their own protection and the protection for society at large. This is such an authoritarian approach, okay? And this is what it's done. It's opened up the gates of hell. And this is the preamble to something. It's not the end of anything. And it has nothing to do with Donald Trump per se anymore, okay? So, and you and I are going to do a big thing on Patriot Act 2.0. This is the ground zero for the next Patriot Act, because the violation of the Capitol and people were almost killed, and who knows, maybe members of Congress themselves are colluding with the internal domestic enemy. I mean, we've seen what they did with Russiagate. They're going to go hog crazy because they're never going to be stopped. They were never stopped with Russiagate. It took a small number of people like us that stuck with it. Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal, Jimmy Dore, you and I, Dmitry Babich. We were always there debunking all of this, and we were blasted all the time as being conspiracy theorists. Okay, no, we took apart a conspiracy theory. Okay. And now we have the next one, and and the media is going to go along with it. The Democratic Party is going to go along with it, because they're always getting, Democrats always have this amazing thing. Once they get power, they just say, well, we don't have enough money. And, and they always have a million reasons why they fail at their failed policies. And they'll always go down this kind of path. They'll start looking for the new enemy, because the Democratic coalition is very, very fragile. And Donald Trump was the enemy, Russiagate was the enemy, and they're going to find another one right now. And it's going to be domestic terrorists, okay? So this is what impeachment has started, okay? Right. Years from now, people are not even going to remember this. They're going to say the Patriot Act 2.0 because of the attack on the Capitol. That's what it's going to be.
Right. No, I think that's right. I think that's what's coming. And clearly, it's part of the Democratic Party narrative, which is the country is inundated with white nationalists, racists, anti-Semites, white supremacists, all of whom are armed to the teeth, and all of whom are plotting to overthrow the government. And so the legislation will be directed at this amorphous enemy, and that means that what does that mean? That any kind of conversation on Facebook, on Twitter, or anything like that can suddenly be deemed criminal. And we've already seen the way the Justice Department is talking about what happened on January 6th. That they're going to have sedition. They're thinking of bringing sedition charges. And we're looking for prison terms of 20 to 25 years, rather than looking at what actually happened. Bring the appropriate charges like trespass, breaking and entering, assault, whatever. No, they're looking for sedition. It's always these Justice Department people are always looking for a vast criminal conspiracy whereby they can just send people away forever. And this is really where this Patriot Act 2.0 is heading.
And what it is too is that what's really devious about all of this is that, sure, they will find people that committed crimes, and I have no problem with that, okay? But the problem is not punishing crime. It is to create examples and a chilling effect on everyone else, okay? And so it's not what you will say, it's what you won't say and you'll keep to yourself, okay? Because that's the level of intimidation out there. Maybe it's just best not to say anything. And that's exactly what the left wants. They're not interested in ideas. Their primary prime directive is to shut down debate. They don't want to debate, okay?
Right. And we've already seen what the FBI actually does. I mean, all these conspiracies that they uncover are all actually instigated by the FBI. You got a couple of half-witted guys sitting in their mom's basement, exchanging messages, and along comes some undercover FBI agent who starts encouraging them to undertake some ludicrous idea of kidnapping the governor of Michigan and putting her on trial. And they go, oh, yeah, well, that's a good idea. I mean, it's a half-baked idea. And lo and behold, the FBI blows open a criminal conspiracy to overthrow the government. No, it's just a couple of guys exchanging nonsense on the internet.
Yes, exactly. And what it is too is it's entrapment writ large, because what is sedition? Okay, I mean, is it throwing a homemade bomb at the U.S. Post Office, or is it having thoughts that that you're not happy with the political status quo? I mean, one of the things that I think is most amazing is that they want to have a broad brush painting of 70 million plus people, but they're probably the least supremacist people in the country. They're the ones that wanted to find an alternative to the neoliberal order, and their greatest sin was to vote for Donald Trump. Okay. Right. And so they're the least supremacists in the population, okay? And they're the ones that are being crushed the most.
No, that's exactly right. The last thing they think of themselves is supreme. I mean, this is the people among whom year after year life expectancy is declining. I mean, this is it's unheard of that in any advanced industrial society life expectancy should be declining, yet it's happening in the United States, and it's happening among these people, the supremacists.
And their families they're not getting married, and a lot of them are not. Their families are getting smaller and smaller, okay, because their wages have not kept up with economic growth and what would be deemed as prosperity, because it's prosperities for the people that live on the east and west coast, and a few archipelagos in the center of the country. So, I mean, these are the least powerful and the most oppressed in the country. And now, big tech is going to finish the job.
That's it. No, I agree. My next thumbs down is what's happening right now in Washington, D.C., which is just simply like Baghdad in the worst days of the insurgency, completely overrun by troops.
Green zone.
The green zone, exactly. You can't get from one place to another without showing your ID. Troops milling around. I think there's something like 20,000 National Guard milling around Washington, D.C. No even remote justification has been presented for this ridiculous overreaction, complete militarization of the capital of the United States. But one thing that it does indicate, that when these politicians get a little taste of violence, they get hysterical, they overreact hysterically. And I imagine the country has been experiencing burning, looting, destruction for most of the summer. And when people complain about it, you had like that guy, I've forgotten his name, the New York, the waddling guy, Nadler, Jerry Nadler, who said, Antifa, that's just a myth, that's just made up. So, you know, the hell with you. You don't like your business burned down? Tough. Them's the breaks. You know, people want to protest. People will do what they want to do, as Nancy Pelosi said. But when they suddenly experience violence, very mild, a very, very mild form of violence, it's just hysteria. Bring in the troops, you know, shut down the country.
Let's add to that, George, how easily they go to war. I mean, they have nothing against violence. As a matter of fact, they like violence apparently because they don't have many qualms about going and sending young men and women, mostly of color, by the way, and poor whites from the Midwest. Okay, they have no problem sending them to their death. Okay, but when Chewbacca shows up and a guy steals a podium, okay, and some doors are broken down, glasses are, oh my God, you know, and you know what's really most pathetic about it? They're demanding protection from our own people. Oh my God. You know, it's the night of the body snatchers. They're out there somewhere, you know, but they're hiding. They look like us, okay? But they're there. I mean, this is, and the left is doing this, okay? They're the one that are doing this, you know? And this is a tried and tested way of doing it, because what this does is, just like with the Patriot Act, I'm willing to make a wager that no member of Congress read the Patriot Act, okay? And I'm pretty sure it's going to happen again with the Patriot Act 2.0, okay? And so these people, it's time, it's tested through history. People are more than willing to give up their liberties and their rights to feel for security, a false sense of security, because you're inviting the barbarian into your home. This is what you're doing.
Right. No, I think that's right. And the way you do it is by, you know, extreme examples. So you always say, well, this guy's a terrorist. You know, we got to do something about that. You know, it does. Yeah, but, you know, then you go keep defining terrorism down until you get to the point when essentially what terrorism exists is actually instigated by the FBI. You know, again, justifying their existence, justifying their salaries by kind of by pushing people into plotting ridiculous terrorist acts. And this is what is going to happen here. You say, well, you know, you saw what happened in the Capitol building. So the country all over the place is threatening to do the same. So yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. But what is kind of interesting here is, as you said, is that they are absolute profiles in cowardice. Not one congressman or senator, you know, stepped out of his office to find out what the hell's going on, talk to anybody. Who are you? What are you doing? If any of them had done that, incidentally, they would have been profiles in courage. The presidency in 2024 would be open to them. You know, hey, you showed that you were brave. Not one of them had any bravery. They just scarpered for their offices and locked the door. Please, you know, and don't let me out until the whole place has been cleared. But as you say, these are the ones who are delighted to send men and women into war.
Well, you pointed out earlier in an earlier podcast is that look, the overreach surrounding the tragedy called Waco. What was the outcome of that? Militias, okay? And so now, is this what they want? They want some people to feel so insecure and so marginalized that they're going to go into some kind of communal self-defense organizations. Okay, this is what's going to happen. See, they want it, and actually, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, there are terrorists out there. We must look for them everywhere. And then people are going to say, I'm going to protect myself, my friends, and my family. Oh, we found them. These are the people that are doing it. Don't you see how it's a circular thing? They create a threat.
Right.
Threat inflation is a part and parcel of American foreign policy. Iran, North Korea, Russia, Venezuela, and then, they're doing it domestically. See, they're taking the foreign policy playbook and they're applying it at home, okay? Now they meet threats and they'll create threats and then they'll react to threats.
Right, exactly. Just like there's always a Hitler abroad that you need to fight, so there's a Hitler at home that you need to fight. It's like the all-purpose Hitler.
Exactly. I was just going to say big tech, again, but I think we've pretty much covered that. I mean, one of the things I was thinking about as we were sitting down here is that, and unlike what the left does, I try to get in the shoes of the left and try to see how they look outside at conservatives here. And they think this is perfectly normal, but they don't understand that normality, as they understand it, is informed by their ideology. And so their ideology blinds them so much that they cannot even consider an alternative. This is the cul-de-sac that these people are in, all right? There is the inability to reassess from another point of view. We used to have that, it's gone.
Right. No, that's right. Any more thumbs ups and thumbs downs?
I think I pretty much covered all of mine.
Okay, I'm going to go one more thumbs down, which is the John Sullivan, about whom we spoke in yesterday's podcast, has apparently been released without bail. So no bail was posted.
What about Roger Stone?
Exactly. What is the betting that that this John Sullivan will just vanish, and that will be that. We'll hear no more about this, because what happened in the last 2 days badly damaged the narrative that the media want to spin, and so therefore this is really embarrassing, and hence I think Sullivan will just vanish, and we won't hear any more about this case.
Well, of course, that will ignite conspiracy theories, because when there's a lack of candor, a lack of transparency, people will draw their own conclusions, and some people might draw completely inaccurate ones. I mean, there'll be plenty of people to say, "Well, yeah, he must have been paid by the FBI." I mean, that's what people will say.
Right. No, that's right. That's exactly right. All right, Peter. So that was the thumbs ups and thumbs downs for the week. And next week we will be doing the same, but we will be maintaining our laser-like focus on the many activities that will be taking place in Washington next week, including the inauguration and probably the start of Trump's trial in the Senate. So thank you very much. And remember, if you like the guy, well, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.